Hello, hello. Okay. So, right now, you just saw my interview with Tyson the cosplayer for your Spotlight After Show. And right now, I'd like to introduce to you the one and only that I know of. Aaron Smith Can't Lose. Enjoy his podcast.
Give yourself a round of applause for getting out here. Like, you survived the Noah's Ark, preview. I had a whole show set up and everything, but I had guests on and everything, but unfortunately they can't swim. So anyway, I'm just gonna wing it out with you guys, and you will be my guest. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
All right, okay. So let me do a quick introduction of myself. My name is Aaron Smith. I'm from New York. I was born and raised here. I'm from Harlem. Now I'm in Hollis, about the home of Run DMC, but now it's the run of CRAKY, crack. But anyway, I know I spelled that wrong, but anyway. But it's just the reason why I call it Aaron Smith Can't Lose. I don't know if you're not guys familiar about it. Maybe you guys are not too old enough to know about a TV show by the name of Parker Lewis Can't Lose. That was a TV show back in the day, white boys. Anyway, fuck it. So I'm just gonna basically go off the top of my head, and we're just gonna go from there. So I am sick and tired of this black Ninja Turtle called the Mayor. Like, seriously. Have you really seen it and looked at him at one point? Look at him, seriously. If you put the mask on, blue, orange, green, yellow, Nicatello. Like, seriously, like, I look at him like, he got that cheese and green like that. We don't have a mayor, we have a club promoter. Like, seriously. Yeah, like, you have people out there in the school and all that in the rain. What's wrong with you? Shit. No, black people and water and ships is wrong. Anyway. But, it's just crazy, like, I came here because I live in Queens with my wife and my daughter, and like the whole ceiling was coming in. Like, I have a titty on my wall, like a wet white titty like this, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself wow, there's a titty on my wall. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. But thank God nothing fell down or anybody and stuff like that. Otherwise, I'd be in court. But anyway, let's move it on. Like I said, shout out to you guys for coming out and enjoying yourself. It's kind of hard to get black and brown people out in this weather. How it's cold and all that stuff like that. Especially in the next couple of months. You get puffer coats and Timbs and all that. But anyway, let's move on. By a show of hands, how many people are from Manhattan? One person. Holy shit. Okay, 2 people. All right, cool. All right, Bronx.
Hell yeah.
Figures. Right in the front.
Always.
Y'all like the Wild Wild West. Now, you would not get me caught dead out in the Bronx. Seriously.
I'm dead.
Like, what is going on there? Like, my goodness. You better come with a bulletproof vest and a 45 if you're going to 138th. Anyway, moving on. Brooklyn. Anybody from Brooklyn?
Hey.
Yeah, right behind the Bronx, it figures. What part of Brooklyn?
New York.
Brooklyn, New York?
East New York.
East New York? Jesus Christ. That's just as bad as the Bronx. What's that, J train, A train?
It's getting gentrified.
Not quick enough. I'm just joking. White people own New York now. Sorry, white people own Harlem now. I think something like that. So when you see people, white people especially, staying on a train after 110th Street, you already knew it's been gentrified. That's all I'm gonna say. Straight up. I don't know, people, it's got a couple of old people, maybe little 30s, 40s around here. You know what it was. Before '96, you didn't see one white person, maybe one with dreads or something like that. But he was the plug. You didn't know. Yeah, that's who he was. But they took over. It's fine. I don't care. I'm trying to get the fuck out of New York. But anyway, Queens. Anybody from Queens? It's not me. All right, cool. Where in Queens? Ooh, bougie. All right. Is that like Left Rack City and all that shit? It's like that over there? Oh, all right. Okay, that's gonna be ungentrified soon. Trust me on that. Crazy. No migrants here, right? Okay, cool. That didn't go anywhere. Oops. No migrants here? Any migrants? No?
Yeah, he is.
All right. Yeah.
He's such a migrant, he doesn't understand a word you're saying right now.
¿Qué? ¿Cómo? Huh? Yeah, no, just joking. I said, my ex-wife was Puerto Rican. But anyway, Staten Island? Definitely not.
Where?
Republicanville. Yeah. I stayed out there for like 2 years, and that was too much for me.
Why?
Because the rent was cheaper 2 years ago. That's why. Yeah. Who's the smart ass in the back that said that? All right. I'll see you after the show. I'm just joking. Like I said, it's all love. Before I was a podcaster, I did comedy for like 10 years. And, I don't do that anymore because it doesn't pay the bills. But moving on. So, I'm at this point where, as a New Yorker, it's starting to piss me off. Like, I'm tired of the city. It's dirty. It's nasty. Like I said, our mayor is a cosplayer like yourself. But, you're way better than he is.
Thank you.
I just want to just don't put his head into direct sunlight because you will probably go blind. Seriously, he has those suits from Steve Harvey's garage sale.
I get mine from some cosplay.
Shout out to you, brother. But I just, I'm never voting black again. That's all I'm gonna say. Sorry. I just can't do it. It's all up. But we had our first black president years ago. We had our first orange president before after that. And now we have our first course president. Oh my goodness, Joe Biden, what is he, like 1,000 now? I mean, I said, I don't know if I seen him or I seen the Crypt Keeper, on TV the other day. Tales from the Crypt, I'm live and stuff Jesus Christ. I'm just like, I said, I used to be this nice, cheery, nice, good person, but not anymore, ever since I had a kid, I'm just you used to not value sleep when you didn't have children, but once you have a kid, that's your life, is just to go sleep and just, that, but that'll be for 5 minutes until they wake you up. But anyway, moving along. And it's just, so I just really just don't understand why people are the way they are, but I could care less. I don't know if that's understanding to you or weird to you, what have you like that, but it's kind of crazy to me how people just come out and just show their ass, for no money. You're just going out there, and on a train and all this other stuff, and Showtime, all this stuff. I hate that shit. Seriously, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to see you flipping off the rails and all these other things. I'm trying to go to work. I want to hear that. I want to hear your bongo drums. I don't want to hear that. The motherland, all this other stuff. Because if you came back before all this shit happened, none of this would go on. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to ask you for no spare change. What the fuck is spare change? If I had change to spare, you wouldn't have it. That's all I'm going to say. Seriously. I get it. People are homeless. I understand that. But, I'm not going to support your habit either, because we already know where it's going most of the time. That's all I'm going to say. So shout out to the weed smokers. Some of y'all smoke weed out here. Anybody smokes weed? Anybody smoke weed? Anybody smokes weed? Exactly. Anybody going to give somebody money for weed? Exactly.
gotta have 5 on it.
That was 30 years ago. I was 8.
True.
I'm showing my age. The Lunas, I get it, yes. Alright, okay. Just because you're the guest doesn't mean you take over the show. That's all I'm gonna say. Alright, yes. Be nice, Aaron, be nice. But, you know, are we being, like, recorded, like, you know, by the government or something like that? That's what it sounds like. Anyway, it's really, you know, like I said, I had a show lined up and I had people going at it, but I'm just going off the top of my head. And this is what I usually do with my podcast. That's why I call it Aaron Smith Can't Lose, because I really can't, because I don't give a fuck. Like, you know, that's what it comes down to, you know, like, that's basically the show. I've done it for 6 seasons.
Nice. Wow.
6 seasons, this will be the last one. The 5th season was actually supposed to be that final season, but my wife got tired of me bitching about I couldn't finish it and all this other stuff. She's like, you get your ass down to that show and you finish this and be done with it, because I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm like, yes ma'am, you know. But clearly she wears the pants in the family. I just borrowed these today, so I don't know. But it's just, that's just pretty much how I am. That's how I've always been. That's how I've been with my comedy, you know, just outlandish, out there, you know, outspoken. Kind of get blamed for that nowadays. You can't really say what you want to say without somebody be like, oh, I'm offended. I'm like, I don't give a shit, you know, like, you know, it's basically, it doesn't matter, because you're going to say what you want to say anyway, so I'm going to talk about it anyway, so why would I be offended anyway? You know, I just don't understand that. I don't understand why people are so offended by everything. Literally everything. Oh my God, it's raining outside. That's not, you're not in control of that. Like, I'm offended that you have an umbrella. Like, what the fuck? Really? I don't want to get wet. Like, you know, hoodies are just that work by themselves to me, honestly. I'm not trying to catch cold. Bad enough you got COVID, SARS, Corona, you know, smelly people in the train. All that. I'm not trying to smell that shit. There's a point in time where I just put a mask on to not smell people on a train. I'm sorry, I just don't want to do it. I really don't do it. Like I said, I feel bad for you. I understand that people are homeless, but soap is $1. You can wash your ass, even if it's hot in the summer. Just turn the sprinkler on, you just run through that motherfucker, you'll be good. That's all I'm gonna say. But anyway, that's what gets me in trouble. Telling the truth and being myself. And I can understand that. And yes, you know, okay, there is a certain ex-president that go too far with that, and that's his prerogative, because you know he has the Caucasian for the persuasion. But anyway, let's move on. But you know, that's just who he is. But people like that just go way too far. I'm, you know, not rich enough to do that, where I can just go off and flip my mouth off, you know. And who gives a fuck anyway? But as far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to say what I want to say anyway. And I encourage people to do that as well. Be yourself. Don't be afraid to take chances. Don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to just do something that you don't want to do. You know, because life is short. You want to fuck that bitch, you go out there and you go and you fuck that bitch. You want to fuck that dude, you go out there and you fuck that dude. Because life is short, and who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I wore this Tupac shirt today, and they caught the killer who was basically stitching on himself for the past 15, 20 years. That day that I did the shit. Congratulations, but you know. Yeah, you know, it's a shame that his mother didn't get to see that they got the guy, and you know, hopefully this is it. You know, maybe they can go to Diddy's house and find the evidence. But moving on.
Yes. Save us. Yes.
I like him, but I don't like him. He's like one of those people. It's like, you know, you shake their hand, and you gotta wash your hand, put it in sanitizer, and then bleach it, and then all that other stuff. You know, put it under the sun, you know, and just get all that thing going. But there's always been rumors about him. Always about rumors. Way enough more than my 30-minute time limit that will get to me. But anyway, you know, let's hopefully that will be resolved, and maybe they'll find Biggie's killers too. Hopefully, but they should probably look in Bad Boy off office first. But anyway, moving along. Speaking of rap, it's garbage now. I don't understand why every rapper sounds like Batman now. Close enough. But I can't do the Tekashi 139 whatever his name is, Stitchmaster effects. I can't do him. Who's the other one? What's his name? I don't care. No, he's not a rapper. The Weeknd. He should be the Weekday. I don't know what his name is. Like he sings like somebody literally kicked him in the nuts and it went to his stomach. I see why. Like, good God gracious. But anyway, like I said, forgive me, I just get a little carried away. That's just me. That's just who I am, and it's really like amazing that I used to be way worse until I got a daughter, because I realized that now that I have a daughter, I have to be the example of the first man that she's going to see in her life, and she doesn't need to see that asshole that I was like maybe 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, and I have to really just see that to myself and.